Hi, I'm Charlie Saccarelli from Chadwick Optical, and today we're going to talk about anti-reflective coating. Have you ever seen an image like this where it shows the benefits of anti-reflective coating, and it shows an image with significant amounts of glare, and then an image of anti-reflective coating without much glare at all? The biggest thing I want to communicate today is this image is BS. And I'm going to explain why. So anti-reflective coating, now I will tell you that you can see my glasses, and if you look at anybody's glasses with and without anti-reflective coating, you will notice a massive cosmetic difference. So you can see through the lenses to my eyes with very minimal reflections. And that's true. And this is, your experience with that is what has led to images like this, because there's this misassumption that if that's what it looks like from the outside in, that must be what it looks like from the inside out. But that is where the flaw is in the logic. So I'm going to draw a couple pictures here and kind of show how that works. So I'm going to show you and diagram how the light works, both from the outside in and from the inside out, and show you how these images of anti-reflective coating and night driving are completely misleading. And then I'll give you some tips on what the best way is to get a clear image so you're not dealing with too many reflections if night driving is a problem for you. So this is a lens, and this is a lens. And what we will do is a couple of calculations. So I'm not going to get too mathy here, but if you think about it, 100% of the light is coming in, and on a lens without anti-reflective coating, about 92% passes through to the eye. So here's your eyeball. So let's see, where does that 8% go? So the 8%, you have about 4% bouncing off of each surface. So 4% here off of the front of the lens, and then 4% more off of the front of the back of the lens. Now these are approximations. If you want to get frisky in Excel, we can like take down what 96% is of 96%, but it gets many decimal points very quickly. So what happens is you get 4% bouncing off each the front surface and the front of the back surface, and 92% comes through to the eye, and 8% reflects back out. So when you see a pair of glasses that doesn't have anti-reflective coating, what you're seeing is that 8% of reflection back out. So let's take a look, though, at what this patient is actually seeing. So what they're seeing is 92% of what came through. So the question is that 8% of light does that 8% of light make that much of a difference on glare? The answer is really no, it's not. It doesn't provide enhanced contrast. It doesn't provide much of anything, that extra 8% of light passing through. Now let's look at what the percentage of of glare the patient sees. So, because we said 8% bounces off back out the front, what bounces through and goes to the eye that would indicate what we saw in that image? So you got 4% bouncing out, that's not going anywhere. So what you have here, though, is this 4% that came through this surface and bounced back. 4% of that is going to bounce back through the lens. So basically what we're looking at is 4% of 4% of 4% bounces through and maybe makes it into the pupil. If you have a refractive lens, very little of that is actually going to make it into the pupil. So what is 4% of 4% of 4%? Ultimately, it's a fraction of a percent, and that's why what you see outward is not as powerful as what you see inward. So your glasses are going to look very reflective, but when you're looking through them, they're not going to look very reflective. Now, the question is where one of the big things is, okay, what do I do if I'm bothered at night? Let's talk about reflections. Where do reflections come from? So ideally, if you have a piece of glass and it's a very, very clean piece of glass, there won't be any reflections. But what if, say you're a smoker, or you're not a smoker, but like your car air filter is older? You might notice there's a haze on your windshield. That haze on your windshield is going to create this kind of thing. That haze on your windshield is going to create big halos around what you're trying to look at. So rather than anti-reflective coating, if night driving is a big problem for you, I would say the first thing to do is clean your windshield. The next thing to do is clean your glasses. If your glasses are very scratched, if your glasses have any kind of haze on them, that's going to be a huge contributor to reflections. If you're still having issues, and this is kind of a controversial opinion, but if you're still having issues, tint. Like reducing the amount of light coming in a certain amount is probably going to be your next best thing to do. A lot of people like to do like a yellow tint because you downplay the light without losing the perception of brightness. But some people like a light gray or something like that. So that is anti-reflective coating. That's the myth of this whole shtick. And hopefully you found that helpful. If you have any questions, we love doing videos about this kind of stuff. If you get me in front of a whiteboard, I love it. So any question you can ask that can get me in front of a whiteboard, I will be forever thankful. Thank you.